Hey everyone, this is FIDE Master Kostya Kavutskiy here for Chess.com, and today I'll be showing you guys the highlights of the 7th week in the US Chess League. The game I want to start off with actually won Game of the Week just a few days ago, and this is between FM Eric Rodriguez of the Miami Sharks and GM Irina Krush of the New York Knights. So here Black had just played h6, attacking White's knight, and instead of retreating, Rodriguez decided to sacrifice this knight with the move Queen h4. A pretty interesting sacrifice. Although it wasn't perfect in terms of objective quality, it posed a lot of practical problems to his opponent, and Rodriguez ended up winning this game in pretty beautiful fashion. So after Queen h4, Black took this knight on g5, White recaptured, and their idea of course is to play Queen h7 check and Queen takes f7 mate. So there's pretty much one move here, Bishop e8, and that's what Krush played, defending the f7 pawn. And here comes a really interesting attacking move. White just played Rook d1. And what I like about this move is that White's not really rushing, they're just putting the Rook in the center and setting up some future attacking ideas. A lot of players think that if you sacrifice something or if you attack, you have to create threats right away, and this is true, but sometimes you can take your time and make a good developing move. Now here Black played Rook c4. I think this is a good move because it gets the Rook involved into the defense, defending the whole 4th rank, and Black can use this Rook for some future counterplay as well. So Queen h6 was played, and here Black played Queen a4, and this was definitely a slight error. I think if Black had played Rook f4, White would have had a lot of trouble justifying their sacrifice and finding full compensation for the piece. And we'll see why this move is important later on, but basically Black is putting some extra defense on the ultimate important f6 square and also counterattacking White's f2 pawn, which could prove useful in terms of generating counterplay and refuting White's attack. But Queen a4 was played, and here the idea is actually pretty tricky. Black simply wants to play Rook h4 and trap White's queen. So Rodriguez here found a really nice move. He simply played b4. And this move is great because, again, White is just taking their time, they're preventing Black's threat of Rook h4, and they're renewing some of their own threats of the attack. So here Black played Queen takes a3, and this is actually a serious blunder. White could have won the game here immediately if they have found this nice tactic, Rook takes d5. In the game, Rodriguez actually played Knight h7, and I believe he had the same idea, but it was much stronger simply to start with Rook takes d5. The point is that if Black plays Rook takes d5, White will play Knight h7, and the threat of Knight f6 check and mate is simply unstoppable. If Rook f4, White can simply play Knight f6 anyways, takes, and White is mating Black's king. And if e takes d5 here, perhaps this is what Rodriguez overlooked or didn't realize, was that White has this move e6, which is incredibly strong and simply leads to checkmate. White's threat is Queen h7 check, followed by e7 mate after Black's king goes to f8. So Black here is simply lost. F takes e6, Queen h7 check, King f8, Knight takes e6 mate. So the only way to avoid mate for Black is to simply try and, give up all their pieces like Rook h4, this kind of stuff. But obviously White is going to be winning in the end. So Rodriguez missed Rook takes d5 and instead played Knight h7. Now the threat is Rook takes d5 followed by Knight f6 check with a mating pattern that we've seen before, but it was stronger to do the more forcing continuation Rook takes d5 first. And here Black could have still defended. The move Queen c3 would have still held the balance because now Black's queen is attacking White's Rook and White doesn't have time for Rook takes d5 anymore. But White can play this funny move h3, simply giving their king an escape square. And the position remains pretty unclear. White doesn't have any winning ideas at the moment, but they have tricks like Rook e3 up in the air, and there's a lot of ideas here for White covered with, using this f6 square to attack Black's king. But if Black plays good defensive moves, they should be able to hold the game in balance. Instead of Queen c3, Instead, Irina played queen takes b4, and this was another losing mistake. This time Rodriguez found the winning continuation. It was pretty simple. He simply played knight f6 check, knight takes f6, e takes f6, and white simply has a double attack here. They're threatening queen g7 mate as well as rook takes d8, just winning a free rook. Black had to play queen f8, the only way to stop the checkmate, but after the trade of queens and rook takes d8, the game is pretty much over. White has an extra exchange, and this bishop on e8 is a very vulnerable piece. The game ended rook f4, rook c1, and here black simply resigned, because after rook c8, they're losing this bishop no matter what. So a really interesting game by Rodriguez, and for his efforts, he ended up winning the Game of the Week prize. The next highlight I wanted to show you guys is between I am Justin Sarkar of the Connecticut Dreadnoughts against I am Levon Altunian of the Arizona Scorpions. So the two masters played a pretty sharp Queen's Gambit accepted, and as you can see, this game is already fairly irrational. There's a pawn on f6, doubled c-pawns, and clearly the opening has been anything but standard. And here Sarkar played the move d6. This move at first looks very strong because it unleashes a good double attack. White attacks the rook on a8 and threatens d takes e7, simply trapping black's bishop on f8. But here Altunian came up with a really unexpected move that probably Sarkar overlooked. Altunian played bishop b7, attacking white's queen, and the point of this move is that black is deflecting white's queen from defending this important c3 pawn. So white takes the bishop, queen takes c3 check, king d1, and now queen d4 check, king c2, and the key move and the whole point of black's play, rook b8. Attacking white's queen, the rook is defended by the knight, and by winning a tempo, black ends up winning white's rook on a1. White played queen f3, queen takes a1, and d takes e7. And now it looks like white is getting two pieces for the rook, and it seems like black's king might also be in some trouble. But in reality, black is actually completely winning here because black's king ends up completely safe in the center, and white's development on the king side ends up costing them the full point. Because these pieces were never able to get out, black ends up winning on account of his super active queen and rook. So queen takes a2 check was played, king d1, queen a4 check, king e1, and simply bishop takes e7. F takes e7, queen b4 check. As you can see, clearly white's king is extremely vulnerable and black's king is perfectly safe here in the center. Bishop d2 was played, queen b1 check, king e2, knight e5, queen d5, and queen d3 check. Altunian decided to trade queens so that after queen takes d3, c takes e3 check, king e3, king takes e7, black's endgame was simply completely winning. They have these two strong pawns. The rook is ready to come to the action, and white's development on the king side is still completely non-existent. Of course, bishop takes d3 here would simply lose to rook b3, winning the bishop. So white ended up losing this game in just a handful more moves. The last highlight I wanted to show you guys here is between FM Jeffrey Zhang of the Dallas Destiny against FM Dov Gorman of the Philadelphia Inventors. For those of you who don't know Jeffrey Zhang, he's a fairly young kid with a super high rating, and he currently leads the USCL in terms of MVP points. He's basically won almost every week that he's played, crushing players from all over the country with really strong attacking and aggressive play. Here he was playing white, and he played the move rook d8, taking advantage of his control over the open file and threatening to attack black's king here. Black played f5, and this was simply a losing mistake. They should have tried something like queen c5, defending the rook with the queen. The move f5, though, was simply too weakening, and Jeffrey Zhang was able to launch a pretty devastating attack. Played rook takes f8, king f8, rook d8 check, king f7, queen h5 check, king e7, queen h4 check, king f7. Jeffrey found a very nice move, bishop h5 check. Point being, after g6, which is forced, simply play bishop takes g6, sacrificing the bishop and launching a decisive assault against black's king. h takes g6 was played, queen h7 check, king f6. And usually with a queen and rook this well coordinated and such a weak black king, the king doesn't survive any kind of walk to the center of the board. So queen h8 check was played, king g5, h4 check, king g4, rook d4 check, f4, and queen f6. And here black basically could have resigned. Queen g5 mate is a threat, rook takes f4, followed by mate is a threat. Black ended up giving their queen on g2 to try to get some useless checks going, but obviously that could not save the game, and white won in just a couple of moves. So thanks a lot for watching. This has been the USCL highlights for week 7. Make sure to visit Chess.com for more USCL action. We're covering every match every week on Tuesday and Wednesday on Chess.com/TV, and that's of course free to all members. This was FM Kostya Kavutskiy signing off.